Here's Jeff. So this is before give you any feedback. So a lot of good things, obviously. Good long stroke. You're riding high in the water. Good rotation. Really good extension. And you're pulling all the way through. So those are all good check marks. When you turn to breathe, your head is coming up just slightly. It's not a big deal, but you do want that to be as smooth as possible. And here I asked you to swim faster. So a lot of your speed on this one is coming out of that kick. It's not a bad thing. When you get into the really long distance events, you probably want to kick a little less and try to get most of your speed and forward propulsion out of the upper body. So real smooth. Your hands, when they're entering, are coming right in front of your head. So you might want to try keeping your hand off to the side just slightly. And by that I mean, imagine there's a cone in front of your head and your hand won't go across that. So if you recall from the lesson, I think most of your improvement could come from just getting the high elbow catch earlier in the stroke. What's going on with your strokes, for the most part, it's kind of a straight arm pull, meaning that you initiate the stroke, kind of pull down and then pull back. Sometimes you get the high elbow, but it's later in the stroke than you really want to start it. The other thing that's going on is every time you're turning to breathe, you're definitely doing more of a straight arm and kind of pulling under your body. If you saw that when you're breathing to the left there. So watch your right arm here. So it goes kind of farther under your body, and you can see that from this front angle as well when you breathe. Alright, you didn't breathe there. There you go. Pretty good line otherwise. Maybe just a little wider. So the reason you want to pull a little wider, and you can work on that by where your hand goes at the beginning, is that your lat is the best muscle for moving through the water. And so with a slightly wider pull, you're going to use more lat and less bicep, less pectoral muscle. Lat's, a long muscle, it's a strong muscle. And the other thing that goes on is that when you stretch out, like you're doing here a really good job of, your lat will actually want to contract, so your lat works with you as you pull. So here I'd ask you to work on hand placement, so you're trying to keep your hands a little wider or not directly in front of your head as you enter. This is working on keeping your hands a little wider when you reach forward. So kind of in front of your shoulder as opposed to the last little bit, a piece of the puzzle for you is, here I had you working on specific things, so I wasn't worried about it. When you do swim in a race or your hard sets, you want to extend as fully as possible, but you really don't want to glide. So as soon as you can't reach forward anymore, you start the stroke. So working on just the hand placement again. So I believe this was trying to work on hand placement as well as what's going on underwater. So here you're trying to do a high elbow catch. So the high elbow catch, you extend forward, then you rotate your shoulder internally, and you early vertical forearm is another way to think about it. Your hand and your forearm angle downwards towards the bottom of the pool so that you can create as much leverage as possible in order to pull yourself forward. If you swim a lot, but you're pulling with the straight arm pull, it's just slightly less effective. And at your level, if you can get 1%, 2%, 3% improvement out of some sort of minor but fundamental changes to the stroke, you're going to be that much faster. 3%, 2%, let's say in a 5-minute swim, 6 seconds. You know, that's the difference between a 445 and a 439 and a 500 free. So one arm drill is a really good drill for it. You can see here that with that left arm that you are doing a pretty good catch. So you really want to focus when you do these drills. You don't want to just move through the water. You want to do highly technical focus. That's pretty good as well. Alright, so this one you're definitely thinking about the high elbow.
Focusing on hand placement and getting the catch.
So it's a combination of reaching forward as well as possible, which you've got that one covered. You don't have any problems there. Making sure that you try to reach directly in front of your shoulder, so not in front of your head, just slightly off to the left or slightly off to the right.
So hands still
and then every stroke possible, including when you breathe, you're doing a high elbow catch. Now when you breathe, you have two options. You can either sort of retract your scapula, meaning pull back your shoulder somewhat as you take the stroke, or you can try to work in a slight pause when you breathe. I'd recommend pulling your shoulder back as opposed to pausing, because that pause will add up over long distance swims. This is pretty good. If you can do this with no pause in the stroke here, again you were focusing on the catch and not so much the timing, you're almost guaranteed to swim faster just because you'll be pulling more water with each stroke. So this is after we discuss things, and on some of them you look real good. Some of them you can still see that your arm pulls under your body, or it does more of a straight arm pull. So it's just you know, continued practice, which I know you do a lot of. Refinement, refinement, refinement. Doing the drills. That was a good pull right there. See how that right arm came under your body when you turned to breathe a bit, though. So same thing with that right arm again, and then that left arm under the body a little bit. So working on those things, those aspects really will help. So this was ask you to swim fast with this sort of technique, just concentrating on pulling hard. This is pretty good. Anytime you're doing hard swim, hard workout, don't forget about the technique. You know, it'd be an easy thing to slide back into just pulling hard, but not thinking about your forearm angle, not thinking about your shoulder rotation. To maximize your potential and your ability, you want to roll that shoulder slightly, make sure those elbows are up with every stroke, really. Anytime you slip just a little bit, it makes, you know, a tenth of a second difference, let's say. But obviously those will add up.
Technical difficulty. The right arm.
And at the end of this, I have some freeze frames. They are from when we had discussed the high elbow, but you get an idea of some of the room for improvement that you have. And maybe they weren't the best example of doing a high elbow, but so good rotation, good extension, no issues there, and then basically this is a straight arm pull at the beginning. So your upper arm and your forearm are more or less in one line, whereas with a good early vertical forearm or high elbow, you would see a marked difference between where your forearm is angled and where your upper arm is angled. Your upper arm would still be forward, but your forearm would be vertical. So great extension. On this particular one, you glided a little more, but it's because you're thinking about the high elbow. And then you start to get the hand angle. You want that forearm to angle, and that's going to come as a result of rotating the shoulder in. And then here, that's the high elbow catch right there. But you want to start that earlier in the stroke. That's why you call it early vertical forearm. This is a great catch once you start doing it. Hope that helps.